Hopkins versus Kovalev. It's going down tonight. These are my final thoughts. I watched the weigh-in. I watched the final press conference. And it was typical Hopkins, trying to psychologically dominate his opponent before the fight starts with all the mind games and what have you. Whether or not that's going to work with Kovalev remains to be seen. But I've seen a lot of boxing fans online talk about the fact that Hopkins lost to Chad Dawson in recent years. And according to them, he lost to Dawson and Kovalev would destroy Dawson. Therefore, it means that Kovalev automatically would destroy Hopkins too. This type of infantile reasoning never fails to amaze me when it comes to boxing fans. Anyone that's followed the sport for more than 5 seconds will know that boxing is chess, it ain't checkers. It's rock, paper, scissors. Just because fighter A beats fighter B and fighter B beats fighter C, it don't mean that fighter C can't beat fighter A. And there are numerous examples of this throughout boxing history, even in recent years. It goes on all the time. All the time, literally. The classic example I've used many times is the fact that Joe Frazier and Ken Norton beat Muhammad Ali. George Foreman then came along and wiped out Ken Norton and Joe Frazier. But then Ali came back and beat George Foreman. All right, boxing is chess, it ain't checkers. It's rock, paper, scissors. So the fact that Hopkins lost Dawson, you can throw that out when it comes to looking at Hopkins against Kovalev, because Dawson is a completely different type of fighter than Kovalev. Dawson's got much longer arms than Kovalev. He's a southpaw. He's faster than Kovalev. He's got faster hands and faster feet. All right, he's technically better than Kovalev. The only thing Kovalev really has over Dawson is punching power. And that don't mean that Dawson can't beat. That don't mean that Kovalev wouldn't be able to beat Dawson, even the Dawson of a few years ago. Who knows? Maybe he would. But the fact is that Hopkins is facing a different animal in Kovalev than he faced in Dawson. The Dawson fight, Dawson was a much bigger guy than Kovalev. Taller, longer arms, just physically bigger. Okay? With Kovalev, his dimensions are not going to bother Hopkins. He's not going to be bothered by Kovalev's reach. Hopkins might even have a longer reach than Kovalev. He's not going to be bothered by Kovalev's physical strength. He's not going to be bothered by Kovalev's dimensions at all. He's not going to be bothered by Kovalev's boxing skills. He won't be bothered by, his inside skills or his speed or his foot speed or anything. None of that is going to bother Hopkins. The only thing about Kovalev that can bother Hopkins is his punching power. That's it. There's nothing else that Kovalev has that Hopkins hasn't seen and dealt with before. You know, it's only his punching power that could be the problem here. And maybe his punching power is enough to deal with Hopkins. When you've got the type of punching power that Kovalev appears to have, it can neutralize skill gaps. That's what it can do. George Foreman, Kovalev is a decent, fundamentally sound fighter. Okay, I'm not saying he's crude or he's a Marcus Maidana. No, he's better than that in terms of his fundamentals. He's a decent fundamental fighter. But he's nothing exceptional. He's nothing Hopkins hasn't seen before. But with power alone and limited skills, if you've got enough power, even with limited skills, it can take you a long way. You know, look at George Foreman, right? Limited skills, but terrific punching power took him a long way, all right? Kovalev, I wouldn't say necessarily limited skills, but fairly rudimentary skills. He's not a crude fighter by any means, but there's nothing exceptional he does from a technical point of view. He definitely, at the highest level, he relies very heavily on his punching power and the fact that he can hurt guys and intimidate guys with his punches. He relies heavily on that because nothing else he does is exceptional. So if Hopkins is able to neutralize the power, Kovalev is not going to win the fight. It's just that simple. But can Hopkins neutralize the power? You've seen in recent fights, Kovalev's gone in there with guys like Blake Caparello and some of these other young guys he's been fighting, and he hits them with one shot to the body and they go straight down. And these are young guys. Are we meant to believe that Hopkins is physically tougher than these young guys, whereby he can take those shots without going down? I don't think so. I don't think Hopkins is tougher than these young guys. I think if he gets hit clean in the body or in the head like these young guys have been getting hit, he's going to go down too. And he'll probably stay down. He might fake that he got hit low or something like that, or hit on the back of the head. You know how Hopkins is. He's a tricky customer. But he's going to get hurt if he gets hit clean. There's no doubt about that in my mind. I don't think he's tougher than these young guys Kovalev's been fighting recently. So if he's going to win the fight, he's going to have to roll with the shots, stay away from the power somehow. Push Kovalev back maybe. I don't think Kovalev will be effective on his back foot. I don't think Kovalev's anywhere near the inside fighter that Hopkins is. Maybe Hopkins can smother Kovalev, push him back, nullify his power, maybe hurt him. Because if he just moves around and gives Kovalev the space to get leverage, you have to imagine that at some point Kovalev's going to catch him and Kovalev's going to hurt him. So it's a very tricky fight for Hopkins being able to neutralize this guy's power. But if he manages to do it, and he manages to do it fairly early, then Kovalev's in a world of trouble. And he's just not going to win the fight. I think that Kovalev is the kind of guy who, when he's under pressure, when his back is against the wall, when he's up against seemingly insurmountable odds, I think he'll capitulate. And a lot of these big punchers, you find them to be that way. Right? Not all of them. There's certainly plenty of them that do have heart. But a lot of them, when the roles are reversed and they're the ones being bullied, you find they capitulate psychologically. And I suspect Kovalev will be the same. Whether or not that happens in this fight, remains to be seen. But I think at some point in Kovalev's career, we will see him capitulate psychologically. So, yeah, that's my final thoughts, man. It's going to be a fascinating fight. If Kovalev can't hurt Hopkins, if he can't intimidate him with his power, he's not going to win the fight. But it's only going to take one clean shot from Kovalev on the body or the head to put Hopkins in a world of trouble. So, fascinating. Let's see what happens anyway. Drop your comments below. This is Hatman. I'm out.